on all the platforms. We should be on YouTube and on Facebook. And I need to share quickly the Facebook one to the group. And there we go. So hi, Colette.
Hey, Tiffany. Hey, Abigail. How you doing this beautiful morning? It is still morning. Hey.
It is. It is. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm wrapped up warm, so I'm feeling good.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, this is our beginning of the month meetup, where we are, we're so lucky to have Colette here, who has done our masterclass for this month, making planning sexy again. Never would I have put them together, but lots of fun. I loved it, and I'm sure our members will love it too. And we also have a few new things that we need to announce as well for the month of July. So we are, like Abby likes to say, in our second half of the year. So we still have 6 months to go in this year, and we still have a lot of things we need to do, and we can achieve so much if we plan properly. So we just wanted to have a chat. Are we going to be talking first to Colette, or are we going to announce some new things first?
Let's introduce Colette and have Colette share a little bit about her story, her background, who she is, what she does, who she helps, how she helps them, and then you can give us a brief overview of how we make planning sexy, because that's such a great title.
Exactly. So thanks very much, Abigail and Tiffany. It's wonderful to actually be here. I've been a member of the CAF-Innate Academy for possibly 2 years now, and I gained such huge value from it. So I really want to thank you for that platform. So my name is Colette Merritt. I'm the Thrivalist Life Coach. I refer to myself as a Thrivalist Life Coach because normally, roughly around the tail end of the year, you will say to people, so, how are you doing? And they'll go, oh, I'm surviving. And I really want people to be in a better state than surviving. Now, I realize at the moment, the universe, the divine, whatever works best for you is challenging that thinking. But I want us to be in a state where we thrive regardless of our circumstances, not to take them lightly, not that we're not going through some really challenging moments, but how we personally thrive, our family, our partners in our businesses. So I'm the Thrivalist Life Coach, and I say I work with people and teams who want to move from surviving to thriving, because that's really what I want to see you do. So through the power of clarity and archetype work and personal development, I'm able to work through blind spots with people, and we discuss your personal growth opportunities based on that information. I'm really, really passionate about people understanding who they are at their core and what motivates their behavior, and the impact that they then have on other people based on themselves. So I believe with every fiber of my being that working to your strengths and truly understanding your growth opportunities is how we find success. I use various coaching tools. Enneagram is one of the ones that I really enjoy because it's got a strong spiritual leaning, which I love. But I also work with individuals and groups to coach for clarity, personal development. I work with teams around high performance dynamics and stepping into your personal leadership growth, leadership journey, as well as goal setting. So that's kind of the long story of who I am right now. But of course, I didn't start there. I was in corporate for I don't really want to say that out loud. Over 20 years, and I had a really strong planning, structured environment. And as Tiffany said, we normally now in corporate, we would be planning or really looking at what are the deliverables for the next 6 months, the last half of this year. And I want to kind of borrow a little bit from the corporate. We don't want to take on all that corporate identity, but we do want to borrow a little bit from their structure because it really does help us. And so that structure, that's my backbone, my history. I want to bring that into our small businesses and into what we deliver on an everyday basis. And a little bit of planning goes a long way. So that's fundamentally who I am and what I do now and kind of where I come from.
Wonderful. I mean, really, if you don't have structure in place, it is so difficult to grow. You're just all over the place. You're stretched thin on each, thing that you need to do, and you just don't progress. So I love that whole taking from surviving to thriving. That's wonderful. A lot of people need that.
Yeah. You know, when they tell me they're surviving, I kind of go, no, I need more from you, because ants survive. You know, they have a very clear function. You know, bees survive, although they have a beautiful role. They have a very structured kind of 1 month life cycle. They survive. But we did not come here to survive. We came here to thrive. We came here to make beautiful lives. And that's where I want to be with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here to live our lives and to do something with it, you know, and we have the potential to thrive. We have that all innate with us, in us. So it's wonderful that we have you, Colette, to guide us through that, and planning being such a fundamental element of it, so that we can build our life empires, but also our business empires and everything.
Whatever you choose. And I think that's a big part of this masterclass as well, is we get to choose what goes on the agenda. We get to choose what we loll around in, what we live in, what we deliver on. We get to choose what gets put into our buckets, and, you know, the things that must be done in a day. And yes, I understand we have clients that put external requirements on us, but we still get to choose. We get to choose the type of business that we want to create.
Wonderful. I also would like to take this opportunity for our CAF-Innate members. You are welcome to join us live on this call and interact and chat, and we would love to just, you know, have conversations. And I believe the link to join as a guest is in the Telegram group. So please go ahead and join us. If you're not part of the CAF-Innate membership, you can still interact with us via the comments. We are live on YouTube, as well as the Facebook CAF-Innate Academy Facebook group. So yeah, let's talk about what we have new in the Academy. Abigail, are you ready to share that? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to drop the link for the members so that they can come and join us. So as well as Colette's masterclass, which we're going to dig in a little bit deeper on, because there is so much to unpack there. And sorry, the sun has suddenly decided to come out, so I'm a bit blinded.
It's beautiful. Go with it. Run with it.
No, absolutely. But I'm always so conscious of light, you know, as a photographer, I'm always like, oh, the light. So we're going to unpack the masterclass a lot more and really dig into the incredible tools that you have given us. And, you know, having tools as part of the process of making planning easier. Some of the tools that we've got new coming into the toolkit, because that's essentially what the Academy is all centered around, is our toolkit, and having resources available to us in the toolkit just makes life easier. And whether it's for your personal confidence, your business confidence, or your creative confidence. So new in the toolkit this month is we have our, obviously our stock photos. Every month we've got new stock photos, and it's got a planning theme in honor and paying homage to Colette and her masterclass. And then we have also a planning your social media content tech tutorial using the platform SmarterQ. So this is one of, it's the one that I use, and I can tell you, as a tech geek, I have used them all. I have tried all of them, and it has been a process of trial and error. And I lost a good few weeks of my life to this trial and error, trying out so many different social media scheduling platforms to find the one, you know, like the one ring. And this is the one that I've landed up on, and it really ticks all the boxes for me. And so this is the tutorial that our members are getting this month, for the month of July. And again, because it ties in so beautifully with the theme of planning. And then, of course, from a personal confidence point of view, we've got such and you talk about this, Colette, and we're going to talk about this, the importance of prioritizing your personal stuff. You know, like when you say planning, we automatically associate it with business, you know, and our schedules and our calendars and all the business orientated things. But we forget to plan the personal stuff. We forget to plan like, hello, this is our lives. This is our well-being. There is life beyond business. And I think so many of us are guilty of forgetting that life happens while you're building your business. And so we need to, and I love that about the masterclass that you've shared, is that your words are putting you back on the agenda.
Absolutely. I once worked with a fantastic woman in corporate, and at the time I was so stressed out of my head with what we were doing. And she turned around to me one day when she walked into her office and she said, Colette, you must remember to enjoy the journey. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, what do you know about rabbits? But it's not really what I was thinking. I was thinking something far less polite and lady. But it took me a while to kind of cotton on as to what she meant. You have to enjoy the journey. And nobody ever got to the end of their journey and said, gosh, I wish I'd worked harder.
Yeah, I wish I'd worked more,
More hours. I wish I had done,
absolutely.
I wish I had done that extra checklist. I wish I had, we might potentially say
to-do list.
Exactly. I'm so glad I cleaned out that Tupperware cupboard in July. And look, Tupperware cupboard is critical, but all things in its place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that ties in with the additional, it's actually a new feature in our toolkit, because we're pushing this agenda of remember the stuff outside of business and how important they are. So your creativity, your health, and there's a lot of, and the vegan, in me is so happy that there's this drive to get healthy. And so we've got our vegan recipe of the month. And the members have already started. Kim last night shared her, and she's saying how it's just absolute comfort food, So it's all the things. It's a holistic approach to confidence, and your masterclass is reminding us of that balance. So before we get into the kind of talking around the what planning really is, what it isn't. Why it's important, why we struggle. I would love to hear both from Tiffany, myself, you, Colette, and anybody who's watching the recording or the live video, what has been your biggest struggle? What's been your biggest challenge when it comes to planning? Oh my goodness. And today is like a prime example for me. I don't know. You could probably sense that as well. Planning did not happen this morning. So I'll be the first one to put up my hand and say, I am the reason, we're talking around this, and that this is a good grounding for me personally, because what you're seeing right now is what a lack of planning looks like, and that's me right here, right now.
And I think we can all identify with that, right? One of my favorite sayings is, plan the hell out of it and then go with the flow. Yeah. And so this morning, there must be something in the water. This morning, I have 2 alarms because my first meeting on a sorry, I've got builders now next door. I have my first meeting on a Friday morning is at 7:30 every week, consistently, rain or shine. 7:30, I'm there. And this morning, with 2 alarms set, I woke up at 7:23.
Oh, oops.
So that was an interesting one. It wasn't. So the plan was perfectly in place, and there's me telling Tiffany yesterday in our conversation, oh, set an alarm. I had 2 alarms. So
I'm so glad you say that, though, because so then you are this person who is espousing the merits of planning, but you still get it wrong. And I was saying to my group yesterday, some days I'm like, why did I put myself as just a confidence crusader? Because do you know how many times I don't feel confident, and I don't, and here I go on, be confident,
plan the hell out of it and then go with the flow. No, well, the reality is that things happen. Things, cross our paths. Accidents happen. Last minute phone calls, things that, children crises, things kind of break into our world. But if we plan all the other aspects of it, we can kind of manage those crises a little bit easier. So, it was a simple thing as I messaged the group that I connect in with on a Friday morning, terribly sorry, fully transparent. woke up 7 minutes ago, love you madly, won't be there. And it's not about beating myself up about, oh my gosh, I should have been there, for sure. But it's about, that didn't happen. Okay, now what's next?
Now what? Yeah.
Yeah, we're human, and we've got to accept that. And it's also beautiful to be human, that we're not these perfect robots, how boring would that be?
Sure. I mean, look, I'm very, very, very human. I tell my coachees all the time, I don't ever purport to be perfect. It's a daily challenge. We don't really, it's not about getting it right every day. It's about every day to work on something with a real focused attention. So we didn't get it right yesterday. Oh, guess what? Please God, we'll get another opportunity tomorrow.
Yeah. Or you didn't get it right last hour, but that doesn't mean the whole day is a write-off. So can I share why my situation here was a little bit wonky? So the backstory is that we're at my parents' house sitting. And, when you're not in your environment, and Tiffany, I know that you can relate to this because you're doing exactly the same thing over there in Mallorca. You're not in your normal environment, and then your normal routines, and that's the thing with routines. They kind of happen automatically, that you haven't, you kind of almost don't need to plan because they happen automatically. So you kind of just know, oh, I can just rock up. But then when there's a little bit shift in your routine, then things start to derail a little bit. And so for me, in what I call my bedroom, because when you're at your parents' house, like, you take ownership of their things because you will always. So in my bedroom, in their house, the internet signal is really poor. And I had a meeting before this meeting, which then got delayed because then I was scrambling around the house trying to find the internet spot that would work. And then it went over, and so as much as the intention is there to be organized, I'm going to show up to a live video and be, oh no, I got all my shit together and it's all organized. You can plan that way. And what was your phrasing there, Colette? Plan the hell out of it and then let it go.
Go with the flow.
And then go with the flow. Okay. Right.
But you can't control, we have a veg box that's delivered once a week, and that they arrive when I'm in the middle of a call. It's like I can't now get up and go and get. So it's a little system in place that, I kind of let someone else know, and someone else in the house jumps up and goes and does it. I can plan to be available and to take that fabulous box of vegetables in, but there is a potentially not going to happen. So what's the plan B? And then, don't worry, somebody else can also get up and go and get the vegetables. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And if you fight when it doesn't flow correctly, if you don't go with the flow, it snowballs, or your feeling of it snowballing expands, and you get more anxious and more stressed. Whereas if you just go, well, it's out of my power, I cannot control it, I'm going to accept it, then things kind of realign and then they start flowing again. But it's also how you approach it and how you, Abigail, it is stressful finding a internet. That's our business. If we don't 100%. Have the internet, we can't operate. So if we don't have that, it sends alarm bells. But if you go with the flow, it's much more relaxed. You feel more relaxed, and then there you are. You popped in, and you're here.
And it is a practice of, well, that 1 hour didn't work out, but the rest of the day still has potential to be amazing. And when we've got the structures in place, like you say, with a planning kind of thing, it's like what's the opposite of foreshadowing? Because foreshadowing is anticipating something going wrong, but planning, I guess.
Planning, and that's so key, because you've learned now from trial and error that in your bedroom there is shocking Wi-Fi. So you now know for the next time that this is a really great spot, because you've now tried a couple of places out in the home, and you know that it takes you now 10-15 minutes to set up. So every time you've done that and in theory failed, you've now gained more data. You now understand, okay, that's the spot. 15 minutes, I have to have that in order to be ready. So you're planning without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Kind of creating that great behavior for next time.
So what I want to hear then, Tiffany, because I know that you're a lot more organized, but have you had any planning disasters? What comes to mind? And if anybody who's watching now, we'd love to read your planning disasters as well. So share them in the comments. So
well,
Tiffany,
as you know, I am extremely organized, not to the level that I would like to be, but I've also had to let that go because my nature is to be quite controlling. And it used to provide a lot of anxiety for me if I planned absolutely everything and things didn't go to, according to plan. So I'm trying to think of a planning disaster. I can't think of the top of my head, but usually this whole, like for example now, right?
Yeah.
So we've got streaming this live call, and we're supposed to be able to let in some guests.
Yes.
I just double checked that, we can up to 6 people or something like that or more. And for some reason it's not working. And I feel terrible because I'd love to have the members join our calls, but I've tried, and so comments are open. Comments I'm assuming can come through. So we would love to hear from you who's watching. Is it working? Can you send us a comment so we can double check, please?
Going by the seat of our pants.
I think it also comes down to, when this is a regular part of your experience. So, previously in a previous life, I organized a lot of conferencing, and then you're working with, there we go. Kim's given us some lovely data.
That's working.
When you organize conferencing like this, you can plan to the nth minute. But Tiffany, you and I know how stressful that is. That is incredible, because if that person doesn't walk through that door at that time, then there's a knock-on effect with the rest of the thing. So we can plan with it, and then kind of and then we can look really calm with, just kind of managing what comes next. If we have to push things out, maybe children did this to me. I don't know. Maybe they, maybe that's where I learned that process. But I do think it comes back to years of organizing, conferencing, and things like that, where there are things that you will never be prepared for, like somebody coming to you with a cotton and thread and a button and asking you to sew it onto your shirt. I'm like, what are we doing here? But, they were going to present in the next 10 minutes and they needed their button on. There's no way you can plan for that. So, how do we go with the flow through that process? I love the fact that Tiffany had no really key things that jumped out in her mind. Those are higher grade skills there, that's for sure.
Or I've blocked them out of my mind. It's a disaster. Gone. I'm not interested in revisiting.
Let's go with higher grade skills.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim, Janet, Rose, Sonia. You're all here. I can see your comments, so at least that's working. Lovely. Thanks for the comments.
Okay, great. Glad to hear that. And so then, why is it important, and what do you think is the most important aspect, Colette, of the planning process, and where are we all going wrong? Like, what's the thing that where we are dropping the ball when it comes to planning?
I'm not hung up on right or wrong, because that infers judgment. I'm about every day we learn, right? So I think the biggest challenge with our planning is people think that they have to wake up on a Monday morning and plan. And with this masterclass and my planning process is no. Your planning for next week starts on Friday afternoon. And there's some really key reasons as to why we plan on a Friday afternoon. One of them is we look back and see what did work or what didn't work from the week before. And when we plan on a Friday afternoon, it gives us very, very clear kind of understanding of what we're walking into on Monday. We also then get to close our notebooks, in theory, because I know when we're running our own business, we tend to work 24/7, but we get to close our notebooks, close our laptops, and have a great weekend. We get to de-stress because we know what's coming on Monday morning at 8:00 because we've planned it. We're ready for it. But if we don't do that planning on a Friday afternoon, we're running around on a Sunday night. We've now pulled ourselves out of our weekend to plan, what am I doing quickly tomorrow? If we do it on a Friday afternoon, we get the opportunity to just close everything off and spend the time regenerating so that we can deliver on Monday. one of the ladies that I work with came up with a really beautiful quote, and it's called, "We have to rest in order to rise." And closing our laptops on a Friday afternoon gives us that opportunity on a Saturday and Sunday to rest fully, so we can fully bring it again on Monday morning. So I think it's not so much about setting us up for failure. I just think we're reacting on a Monday morning versus planning on a Friday afternoon. And I know people are racing to finish off, the week that's been and get all those last little to-dos done. That's why it was this morning's prompt is let's get those little to-dos done now this morning. And then we go into the Friday afternoon planning for what we want to have happen next week. We'll step into Monday with completely different energy.
I really need to implement that because I know myself, even though I finished work on Friday, the whole weekend, I'm not 100% present. It's going on in my head all the time. My biggest problem with planning is being consistent. So I get really excited. And yes, I'm going to implement this new thing that I'm going to now on Fridays, I'm going to, plan the next week. And that will probably last a week. And then I'll fall back into my old pattern. So I need to be held accountable to do that. So maybe I should include that in my monthly goals, my new habit. Absolutely. And so, because also with children, with things moving so fast, you want to be as present as possible, because within a blink of an eye, they're already grown up and, you miss moments. So I have consciously, when I had kids, made a conscious decision that I wanted to be as present as possible. And when they were babies, I was, because I was on maternity leave. I didn't have to work. I could focus 100%. Now with juggling work and kids, I do feel guilty when I'm not 100% there. So Friday afternoons, I'm going to start implementing that so I can gain back a little bit on that on the weekends. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a really key part of the process, because what happens is if we don't do that Friday, we don't close that kind of chapter in our brain. What happens is we spend the whole weekend thinking, oh God, Monday morning, I've got to do this. Mustn't forget to do that. Meanwhile, if you've already got your priority list and you've got your week mapped out, it's a very clear deliverable for Monday morning. You step into your Monday morning so much calmer. You're able to close everything off and truly be present in the weekend, to be with your family and having the fun that you're meant to be having, because that's why you're there. You're there to be meant to be having fun over your weekends. And we start our own businesses to have the flexibility. And then somehow, somewhere in there becomes this unwritten rule that we have to work 24/7. Well, I don't purport it. And Tiffany, to keep the consistency, you just map out that time in your diary. Do a lovely, is it a lovely theory? Put it in your Friday afternoon, and kind of like 2:00 is a great time to reflect on what was, and then you can spend some time journaling if that's what works for you, and then 2:30, 3:00, get a glass of something fabulous or a cup of something fabulous, settle down and go, okay, what do I want to create in this new week? And it really is about being intentional with how we step into a new week.
I like the combining of reflecting and planning with a glass of something. So it's an enjoyable experience, as opposed to, I cannot have this until I've done this. Right. So doing them together, that's a good idea. I like that.
That's a groundbreaker. That's like mind blown.
Yep, a cup of something fabulous is the way to go. For me, at the moment, I'm in one of my dry periods. Oh yeah, it's just it's self-induced. I'm the first one to say it, but a cup of coffee is a real go-to place for me, and I really enjoy one. So go and get your process up. Make yourself that beautiful cup of coffee, with your favorite cup. You often see me using these beautiful cups. Whatever your process is for you. A glass of gin in summer, fabulous. Perfect for you, Tiffany. I mean, you're in gin country right now. Get that one on with a couple of iced teas and a lemon. That planning will happen like that. I can tell you, it'll be the most fun experience of the week.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that today after our call. I'll send a photo.
So we want to see evidence. We want to proof.
So, Colette, how do you feel about hosting a Friday afternoon, like accountability? Grab your tipple and
so I say you're jumping the gun. I am going to put a prompt into the group this afternoon, and so we'll see how that kind of unfolds. So there'll be a prompt in the group this afternoon, and it'll just be, really about what was, and it doesn't have to be too complicated a reflection, but really it's more about putting you back on the agenda for next week. So what do you want to have more of next week? What must get done in the early part of the day, if that's the time you want to do it, that sets your day up for success. So it's, solid breakfast, meditation, and then my planned when I'm going to get my exercise done. When I've got those 3 things set up, the rest of my day just flows beautifully.
Yeah. The big shift here, what you've just shared here, and Janet has also mentioned in the comments, that's a good idea. If you've planned your Monday, you could actually relax and just chill for the weekend, as opposed to running in circles to get organized first thing on Monday. I like that. And it's such a simple concept, but it sitting here and ingesting that, it is profound. I can see the value of it. Like, I can see my future self thanking past self for having done that, having made the time, instead of future self being freaking past self. Why the hell didn't you do this when you had, and until, leaving it to the last minute. And that it is something, because my experience of it has been even the planning to plan. I'm going to sit down and plan, like planning to plan then becomes like this big heavy thing. Whereas where you've shifted it today, this morning now, and making it something forward to, and in and of itself is the reward, that it is like signing off your week. That is you're signing it off with your planning session.
The reward is the best weekend ever.
I also really liked, I also really liked where you said plan for what you want more of. So if you want more of X, then you include that into your plan, as opposed to I have to do these things. I like that swap as well.
Yeah, because so often we know, I know I've got to exercise. I know it gets on the calendar, but if I get it done early, I mean, that's what works for me. It just bolsters the rest of my day. I kind of, Daniela Laporte always says, she talks about eating the frog first. So eating the frog first is getting the worst chore done first, and then everything else is gravy. So it makes me sound like I'm food obsessed, but what she's saying about that is do the things that kind of light you up, and then everything else is gravy. For me, if I get my meditation in, I've already planned, so I kind of know what's coming in my day. That's before any break-in items happen. If I know that I can have my meditation done, if I have set my day up with a healthy breakfast, everything else is gravy. I just get into the right zone and I'm able to go through it, even if there's a break in something that pops into my diary.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, with the masterclass, you've given us some worksheets. You've given us a structure. You've guided us through the things to think about, the things to consider specifically when we're looking at our week. And it's so much more than just a to-do list. It's so much more than just ticking off, tangible things. You go a lot deeper. And I really love that about your approach. The truth is that, you're bringing back the whole human instead of just that to-do list item. The things that we're planning, though, are these the things that recur on a weekly basis, or are we planning for things that it's coming up this week, but the following week it won't be on the list, or it won't be part of the plan, and 2 weeks ago it wasn't part of the plan, so like those once-off things versus recurring things.
So you're planning everything that you have to show up to in a week, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whether it's, I'm just trying to find my folder for today. Normally, okay, I'll go through that now. So everything that you have to deliver on in a day. So what a lot of people don't realize and we talk about it sometimes is, in my logo, there's a lot of circles. There's 5 specific circles. And that's because I believe in coaching to wholeness. We are a holistic human being. We are not only entrepreneurs, we are mothers, we are women, we're sexual beings, we are writers, we are photographers, we are people who love to walk in nature. If we don't, I don't want to use the word tick the box, but if we don't manage all of that circle, then we feel deprived in some area when we're not being, there's a lot of guilt around that, but when we're not being a good enough mom, when we feel like we're skimping on what we're delivering the kids, are they getting what's left or are they getting what's right, kind of thing. If we don't give ourselves a little bit of all the things that light us up, if we don't work to wholeness, then we start to become resentful. I've spoken before how last year I didn't get any writing done, and I was really quite angry about it. This year I've made sure I'm not getting enough done, but I make sure that it's on my agenda every single week, and it's one of my key 5. So I talk about in the masterclass about having 3 to 5 key deliverables. That's big ticket items, and one of mine is writing. And I have to be very specific because I write every day for my business. So I've written romance writing so that I know that I'm being very, very specific. But it's everything you have to show up for, Abigail, whether that's taking a child to school or dropping another child off at university, or whether it's meditation time or making sure you take certain vitamins at a certain time. Whatever you've got to get on the agenda, it's the holistic view of what your day looks like.
Yeah.
That's what's on your agenda.
Okay.
And what I wanted to say is, so sometimes I use, let me just lean forward a little bit. I use my lovely Post-its for so many lovely things. And if I know that something's coming up for in 2 weeks' time, I'll write it on my Post-it and I'll pop it in my diary for that week, at the beginning of the week that it's going to be happening, so that I know that the week before, when I'm doing the planning on the Friday afternoon, I've got to take those into account. So you don't have to keep remembering. It's very important to kind of release that mental capacity. I mustn't forget that in 2 weeks' time, I've got to take the cat to the vet. Pop in, post it, cat to vet, 2 weeks' time, or on our phone, depending on which calendar you're using. It releases that kind of mental worry, that continuous little, don't forget to do that, don't forget to do that.
And that takes so much space in your mind, which it is like, for example, for your business, if your mind is just continuously trying to remember things, you don't have that space for the ideas to flow, for that's what the creation, that's what we need space for. And I don't use Post-its, but maybe I should. I use Asana, and as soon as I have an idea, I put it in there. And that it took me a while to get used to using Asana, but actually now it's like my Bible. However, I have Asana, I have my calendar, and then I have my physical to-do list that I do in the morning. Literally, like you say, 3 to 5 main things that I want to achieve today, so I don't get overwhelmed, because that's my tendency, just filling up my diary. But it's not realistic, because I myself have very limited amount of work hours by choice. I just work in the mornings, so I have to be very specific with my time. And I actually have found, well, before I had the whole mentality that work more, earn more, and that did, you just burn out. And I actually tested reducing my work hours, and I actually am better off stress-wise, happiness, productivity. I'm much more focused. When I sit down in front of my computer, I'm focused. So
we spend a lot of time remembering things. And somebody was once saying, I think it might have been Simon Sinek, that we only have the capacity to remember 150 names. So when we meet new people, someone's falling off the bottom of that list. So it's the same if we've got to-dos, right? When I'm remembering when the cat's got to get to the vet and when the child's got to have that appointment because, they're having a meeting at school, if I've not written it down and popped it somewhere where that it will pop up and remind me later, I'm having to keep reminding myself to remember. I mean, it's almost we're kind of double whammying ourselves. When really, if you take out the word, and the word that you used, I think, was you had to be very specific about what you're doing in a week. But if you take the word specific out and put the word intentional in there, doesn't that just change how you look at it?
Yes.
I have to be very specific about what gets on my agenda. You have to be really specific. You have to be really intentional about what gets on your agenda. I like that.
Wonderful.
Sure. So I have a question. Because Tiffany brought it up, actually, doing analog planning versus digital planning. And you've mentioned already, you don't do right or wrong because we're not judging. But is there suggestions or encouragements of any kind to digital versus analog?
It really is, it's like your exercise and your eating plan. It really is what works for you.
Okay.
I have two, and I have grappled with the concept of having two systems, because it just, in every fiber of my being, is saying, Colette, that's so inefficient. How do you manage two? But my phone is really the one that I carry with me when I'm traveling. But my world is organized in my diary. So if it kind of gets on my diary first and then it gets into my phone. Thank you, Mr. Builder. Someone's creating employment in this in Cape Town today. And so my diary for me is the physical manifestation of what it is that I'm going to be doing in a week. It also, I know we chatted about it yesterday, I get such great joy from kind of ticking something off as complete, because then I can go like, yes, one of those moments when I've got it done. So the writing, for me, there's something very visceral about writing. Slows our brain down. It also, we're able to, physically map out how long we think something will take. And we do tend to underestimate how long things will take. So if I block it out as a time block, then I can put a little bit of fat in there for just breathing, stretching my body, because I'm sitting at Zoom calls all day.
Yeah.
Stretch. I also find by writing physically, I mean, I'm very digital orientated, but it doesn't seem to have the same amount of energy, creative energy, than if you are physically writing something down. It feels like very powerful writing it down, and it's just like more real than just quickly typing it. It's interesting, the difference there, because effectively you're still writing, but it's just something completely different.
For sure. And you also get to choose your implement, right? So, you get to use your kind of implement of choice. And so when you're writing it down, you can then choose a beautiful pen, or, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It's got to be an exciting exercise. I'm going through the process now of getting some branded marketing. And the person said to me, it comes with black ink in the pen. And I said, for the love of God, please, not black ink, any other color, but not black ink. And I know it's needed for legal, but we have to, having a lovely implement that's just different, that enhances the planning process. I'm all for feeding your stationery addiction.
I'd love to hear from the people in the comments. Do you do analog or do you do digital? So do you have a stationery fetish and that drives your analog planning and to doing and all the things? Or are you all digital? Because I think it is kind of like a coffee or a tea thing, or a cat or a dog thing. Like people tend to do the one thing. Can you successfully do, I suppose you've given the example of successfully having a hybrid of both, because just from my anxiety point of view, I lose things, but I lose things like books and pens and pieces of paper and post-it notes, and also I forget where I write them. And so then, I had this journal, but then I wrote something down because it was the closest thing, and so then I forget so managing that has always been a struggle for me, and I wonder if that's if anybody else struggles with the same thing, or what is your preference, digital or analog?
I'd be quite keen to see what the group say on
do a poll. Let's poll you all.
I mean, I'm with Rose. My addiction for stationery knows no bounds, and it's terrible that we have Alison in the group, because she keeps sending us these lovely mailers with what these beautiful things are. I do force myself to stay in one journal or one notebook at a time. Now, that's not my diary. So my notebook is a separate document, a separate book to my diary. And my diary is where there's clarity and real choice about what gets on the agenda. So some people use their diaries differently, and that's their choice. But this is kind of the holy grail. If it's in this space, then the world is a perfect being. And then I have a journal for each meeting, where I'll take down salient points and actions and things that I have to do. But I am very guilty, and I understand that inclination, Abby, to have multiple books, because we think we're just being super and writing it all down, but then we think, flip, which book was it in, But now I've learned that that's not my book, and I go and find the one that I need to do.
Yeah,
just keeps my brain organized.
So there's a discipline to, and you kind of do, whether it is digital or analog, having to have that system in place so that you know exactly where to go, and being disciplined enough to put everything in the same place every time, and being consistent again.
For sure. Well, I mean, the challenge is, and that's also, Tiffany, possibly why I haven't embraced a planning management tool. It feels like too many rules for me, but that's another discussion. Is the challenge is we do live in both an analog and digital world. We love our paper and our pens, but the reality is we work on computers all day long. And so for me, anything that's on my desktop, so I'm very, very clear, when I finish working something, I file it away. Anything that's on my desktop is currently what's being worked on, and I actually move it to the center of my screen. And sometimes I use the post-it tool. So not only do I physically use the post-it tool, but there's also a post-it tool within, I use Windows, and I will pop that up on my screen. That also keeps me focused in one place. So I can't purport to not having multiple sources of information, Abigail, but I am consistent about where I put them.
Okay. All right.
I was actually laughing, Colette, when you said you're very intentional about your desktop and closing when you finish it. I'm looking at my laptop right now. I have over 20 tabs open on my browser, and I leave them open because I say, tomorrow I'm going to work on it. A week goes by, it's still there. And then I close them. So then like a month later, I close them and I say, well, I'm not going to be dealing with it, am I? So just close it.
It's finished. Yeah. And we tend to beat ourselves up when we don't do those things. When we say, well, I must go and do that. And then we don't, for whatever reason. There's very good reasons. Life gets busy, business pivot and go in different directions and all sorts of things. Kids cut fingers and the world carries on. So it's not about, oh gosh, I didn't get that right. But when we allow these things to slide and we don't go to them, what we're doing is we're sending ourselves an unconscious message that it's okay to not complete something. Meanwhile, when we've got space and we're not letting it slide, we're showing up for our own deliverables. So it's also really about being clear about what we take on. And that's why the physical piece of paper works so well for me, whether we're doing it on the paper itself or whether you're using a diary, whatever diary. Of course, my diary is fabulous, but that's another discussion. No, I'm joking. Just little shameless pun there. Whether it's your diary or whether it's a piece of paper, it's being really, I only have so many hours in a day. Where can I add the most value? And it's about taking that on. I love that.
Before just jumping into the comments, because they've been flooding in.
Crazy.
People are jumping in on the digital versus analog. But just to on your point there of that, unconsciously giving by not completing things, you're kind of rewiring that you are somebody who doesn't complete something, and it ties into then self-integrity, which ties into self-confidence, because when you don't get those things, and I'm guilty as well, Tiffany, I've got a bunch of things, I'm like, I'll finish that thing like halfway through filling out an online form, I can't finish it right now, so the tab stays open, and then eventually there's like 50 tabs, and the importance there, and I think that goes for any clutter, is that while it hangs around, it's heavy, it's weighing on us, but most importantly, it is getting into our mindset, our self-identity of we don't finish things, we cannot rely on ourselves, we cannot trust ourselves, and therefore we don't have confidence in ourselves. So this is huge. It might seem like such a small little thing, but it's huge.
And so, when those pennies start to drop and you start to realize that if you don't plan your week, the knock-on effect in so many spaces I mean, what's not sexy about showing up at a meeting when you're confident and that you know what you're delivering because you've prepared beforehand and you're not stressed because you've mapped out your day and you've given everything enough time? Mapping your week out becomes such a priority that you kind of won't go anywhere after that. I said in the masterclass, if you learn to do this and you consistently stick with it for 8 weeks, it will change your world. When I coach, I work with people a lot around really great. One of the great I often use is the 4 agreements, and the first one being to be integrous with your word. So when I say I'm going to do something, I must step up and deliver. And we can let other people down, and sometimes it happens. So it's not about right or wrong. It's about saying tomorrow I'll try again. I'll get it better tomorrow. I'll do it better tomorrow, and then sticking to that. If we say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow," but we don't stick to that, we're not being integrous with our word.
Sure.
And so there's so much that's kind of planning, it sounds like such a simple thing, but when you really get into the planning process of it, the knock-on effect of the successes just exponential.
Yeah. Oh, that's profound. Profound.
Absolutely.
And Janet's asking here if there's a PC version of Post-it. There is, Janet, and it comes in multiple colors.
Yes, sticky notes. Sticky notes.
That's right.
So
there we go.
let's jump into the comments a bit. They've actually gone off screen, and I don't know if on here we can scroll back. Mine won't scroll back, so I'm looking at them on
interesting.
Facebook. Sticky notes. So Jenny has said that it's called sticky notes there, Janet. But just to scroll back on Facebook, there was something else that Janet said. Jenny's saying, I resonate with this, Tiffany. If I handwrite my to-do list, it feels real. If it's digital, it doesn't feel real. Okay, so you're
exactly that.
You're team analog, Jenny. So I get that. Rose says she has a pile of handwritten journals. Claudia, hi Claudia, good to see you here. She says I do planning and I do analog planning and then transfer some things onto my phone, but I definitely work best from a hard copy. Okay, so team analog. Janet, I like to write things down. My problem is I don't stick to it. And I started with the Post-its a while ago and they're still stuck up. So this was the thing that struck me. They're still stuck up, but I don't even see them anymore. And that's so real. What's going on there? Like I've experienced that, like, like when people say post your affirmations up everywhere, you stop seeing them because they disappear into your environment. What's going on there?
Well, our eyes take in what we see every day as our normal. So it becomes our routine. Every time we change something, we then have to create a different neural pathway. So when you see that Post-it in the corner of your screen and you consistently see it all the time, but you don't necessarily read it. I mean, I've also got a couple around my desk as well. But if we don't take the time to read the information that's on it, then we're blowing it off. We're just like, oh, what's that about? It's not that important. But if we give ourselves a space, like a pin board, and once a month reset that pin board like we reset in the room when we were doing intentions for the month, then it's a different set. And that's why also I talk about using things in color, having different color pens. This is again feeding our stationery addiction. Having Post-its in different colors is every time we change those colors, we're creating new different neural pathways. And we're telling the brain, this is different. Look at this, see this, acknowledge that this is a different process and something that we have to look at differently. So that's
valuable. My goodness, that's another little, you're blowing our minds here.
Moment.
I thought that was an easy, straightforward conversation, but this is like groundbreaking.
Yeah, and it's about planning. It's like something that generally you see as really tedious and dry, and you have so many aha moments around planning it because it's so vital for growth.
Yeah.
And I think it also speaks to living a conscious life. I know the word is a bit bandied around at the moment, but we as entrepreneurs, as people who are going out in our own businesses, we're choosing to work with ourselves. We're choosing the life that we want to create. So what is getting on our diary? What's the intention of each day? And what do we want to bring more of it? We didn't choose to leave corporate, who would have given us our salary regardless of how badly we did or didn't work. We wanted something that was a little bit more conscious. So what are we consciously putting on our agenda for each day? That's going to light up what we're doing in a day. If it's not a full body yes, it's a no. Now, look, I know we have to sometimes deal with tax, which for me is not a full body yes. And then that's those moments when we have to eat the frog first. And you do have to deal with things in your business that are not, not going to light you up. But if we focus on the majority of the time, the good 80-90% of the time of doing the stuff that really gets us excited, we'll be passionate about everything. We'll be passionate about everything that gets on our agenda, but with enough time and wiggle room in between to give it the attention that it needs.
Well, I'm very excited about planning. I think it's very sexy right now.
How sexy is it, eh? I mean, I know, but you think sexy. How sexy can planning be, woman? It's a pen, a piece of paper, and it's fabulous. No. When we open it up and really look into it, drives everything we do.
Cool. That's incredible. Incredible. You've blown the lid off of this, Colette, honestly. Is everybody picking up the same vibes that we are? Like, let us know in the comments if you've had some major ahas here.
I love Rose's one here. She says here, feel that my old-fashioned ways of pen and paper have been vindicated. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with a good pen and paper, Rose. Yeah, I get far more excited about that than trying to fit something on my phone with little fingers. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Look, there's a time and a place for everything, but to plan, you need a good expansive paper.
Yes, absolutely. So I would love to invite, if you're watching this, leaving your comments and your feedback. Natalie Raters says both analog and digital. I start by planning an analog on a weekly planner after looking at appointments booked in advance on my phone. Once it is all my weekly planner with color. Once it is all my weekly planner with color, I then fix it on my phone with daily reminders. Sheesh! Wow. Now that's a system and a half.
If it works,
and that's what's key. If it works for you, that's key. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's this has been a very interactive discussion here. Colette, if anybody is interested in working with you, where would be best that they connect with you?
You can reach out to me on either Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. My hashtag is, or my handle is, I think I'm getting too old when I use terms like that. My @ sign or whatever. What's the term, Tiffany? What's the correct terminology?
Handle.
Okay, thank God for that. I had visions of ham radio there. My handle is Thrivalist Life Coach. Anybody can reach out to me there, or hello, an email address, hello@thrivalist.lifecoach. thrivalist.lifecoach.com. I was just having a moment remembering if it was .co.za.com.
Okay, perfect. Janet says she likes it. If it's not a full body yes, it's a no. That's being quite decisive. Love that.
Absolutely.
And I would love to in the wrap up of this, so the masterclass, Making Planning Sexy Again, as you can see, Colette knows exactly what she's talking about. She has created an incredible masterclass. I really want to encourage you to come and join us. You can get 1 week free access to the entire toolkit of the CAF-Innate Academy, of which Colette's masterclass is the main masterclass there, but you can access all the masterclasses in the toolkit. Get 1 week free. Just go to CAF-Innate.com/1-week to claim your 1 week free access if you aren't already a member. If you are a member, please, on your planning session this afternoon, you're going to plan to go and watch the masterclass, because this is going to not only change your week next week, but potentially the ripple effect would change your life and your business for the better. I edited and went through the masterclass, and it's just profoundly, as you can see from Colette's sharing here today, and what Tiffany has shared, that it feels like simple, feels like intellectually we know this, but when you really get into it, it's mind-blowing how far the reach of this can go. So we really want to encourage you to do this, to plan for the next 6 months. We've got 6 months left of this year. You know, if you start now, this could turn out to be the best year you've ever had if you start
100%.
planning for it.
Let's start with 1 week. Let's do planning this week, today, for next week.
At a time.
And then we'll, 1 week first, and then we'll take on the rest of the year.
Absolutely. So come and join us. We want you to come and watch this masterclass, get your 1 week free access to watch it, and everything else that is in there, and come and join us. Colette's going to be holding all of our Academy members accountable, and is going to guide us through our session this afternoon, or prompt us this afternoon to do our Friday session. I'm looking forward to that. Thinking what I might be drinking while I plan, because it is Friday
That's what's going
afternoon
through my head too.
We're all jealous, Tiffany, that it's not gin for us, but we'll live.
Yeah.
We'll come
Tiffany, I
round.
think you're going to need to share a picture, like with the group, what, Friday planning with something delicious in Mallorca, in Spain, in summertime looks like.
Absolutely.
Not if
I'm
you
going to
don't
make you
want us
all very jealous.
Yes.
Also,
I'd
Go
just
ahead,
like to
Kate.
end off by saying a really lovely quote by Miss Margaret Thatcher, which we know was a formidable woman. And the quote is, "Plan your work for today and every day, and then work the plan."
Lovely.
There we go.
Lovely. Yeah. Brilliant. And I also wanted to mention, because this month is going to be all about planning, mid-month we're going to be having a live Q&A with Colette, and we will confirm the date soon. But while you are planning and you're implementing, if you watch the masterclass and you're implementing, if any questions come up, please join us in the live Q&A. I will try and sort out this thing with Restream to have people on the stream. So hopefully that's all sorted by then. But yeah, the live Q&A is coming up.
Yeah. So write down your questions. And if you're watching the recording of the stream as well, feel free to write questions in the comments, because we will be taking from there as well. And other than that, if you've joined the live call today, thank you so, so much for your engagement. It's been so great having you here and having you contributing and connecting with you in this way. I do want to invite you, please drop your website address links, please drop your social media links, so that we can all connect with each other. If you've got something going on for July, a promotion, competition, event, whatever it is that you've got going on, drop them in the comments. Give us the insight into what you've got going on, so that we can support you in any way. And other than that, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Colette. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you both. It's been amazing. Thank you for the people who are listening in. I really appreciate all the questions and the statements. And Rose, I'm sorry, but that papery prize is mine. So get over yourself, woman.
No. Sorry, girls. I'm winning that one. I've already put my order in. So there's going to be some arm wrestling going on. I can see virtual arm wrestle.
For sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been great. And have yourself a fantastic rest of your Friday. Lovely weekend. And may you have the most productive week next week. Now we know how.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.